The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Hi, I'm Mike O'Sullivan, CEO of One South Coast Chamber, and I'm happy to be here today on the One South Coast Chamber Business Connection, and I'm joined by our Vice President of Marketing and Events, Katie Green.
Hello, Mike.
How are you?
Happy spring.
Yes, thankfully.
I'm great now that it's spring.
Yeah, well, I can tell you on Monday it didn't feel like spring. On Monday it was cold, wet, rain. It was just, the weather was just awful.
Yeah.
Even though it was a fantastic day.
And it was a fantastic day.
It was an absolutely fantastic day on the South Coast with the opening of South Coast Rail.
Yeah.
It's very exciting.
And the day had finally arrived.
Yeah, there's way too many folks out there that said, "I'll believe it when I see it." Well, you have to get to Duval Street and take a look at the train coming and going, or you can go in New Bedford and you can see the train coming and going at Wales Tooth or Church Street, and it's just it's here.
Yeah.
And kudos to so many people.
Yeah.
Kudos to all of our legislators who really fought for a really long time to try to work and make it happen, for multiple mayors in both cities over a very long time. Just really exciting. And I like to laugh with Senator Roderick about the fact that he has a shovel from what I guess was the original groundbreaking on the old tracks from 1998.
Wow.
I think it was October of 1998.
Wow.
Because when they did the current groundbreaking, he said, "You can keep the shovel. I don't need it." He said, "I already have one."
Should have brought his old one with him.
So, but yeah, really kudos to so many people, and including Governor Healey and her administration, because when they took over, they made sure that it got over the finish line and got done. Charlie Baker's administration did a great job getting the funding allocated and and making it happen as well. I mean, you could speak for days about the different people that had really worked hard to make it happen.
Yeah.
But it was I got to ride the train on Monday. I can tell you that we were talking about Monday wasn't a nice day. Holy cow! It was the temperature wasn't that cold, but because of the dampness and the rain, and I mean pouring rain, it was chilly.
Yeah.
It was chilly standing out there waiting for the train, and then we got to Taunton. We took the train to Taunton, and a group took the train from New Bedford to Taunton, and then they had a huge celebration. They had a celebration in Fall River and a celebration in Taunton, but they had a huge celebration in Taunton, and even though it was under a big tent, it was still cold.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it was that was one of those days where it took 3 or 4 hours to finally chill out.
Once it hits your bones, that's it.
Yeah, it's definitely bone chilling. But it was like 45, 48 degrees, which is not normally bone chilling cold.
No, I'd say that's pretty good for March.
Yeah.
And you also got to be part of the ribbon cutting that they did in Fall River. I believe New Bedford also did their own ribbon cutting with the LG.
Yes.
But Maura and Healey was down here in Fall River.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was really, I got to represent all of the business community. They did a ribbon cutting in Taunton where they had everybody from both sides, that were there and cut the ribbon. It was just a really fun event.
Yeah.
And I was surprised at how many people were there.
Right.
Especially up in Taunton. I was really surprised at how many people were there.
Yeah.
And and because I got to speak and talk about things from the business community's perspective, which was an honor and very exciting. I got to see a lot of people. There's a lot of people here that I just did not get to talk to, or but it was, and I saw some of them at Rotary today, and and of course you didn't even come over and say hello, and it was kind of crazy, a little chaotic.
A little bit, just a little bit.
But it really was a great event, and there was, the governor spoke. It was actually the speaking started with Mayor Shauna O'Connell from Taunton, because we were in Taunton, and she had the honor of introducing the governor. And then the governor introduced the LG, and kind of went downhill from there. But it's just South Coast Rail. A lot of people they say, well, it's going to be interesting to see over the next few weeks who's riding and how many riders there are. And I think we can't judge it that quickly. I think it's going to take years to really judge the true success of it, because it really needs to get into the commuter's DNA. Our Ian Trombley and he and Jessica and another good friend of the chamber, Ed Washburn, they took the train up together. They didn't plan on it. Ian and Jessica did, but the three of them didn't plan. They were going to the same event, and it turned out, it went perfectly for them. So you have to give it a chance, and you really have to, you'll see that it won't be that hard to take the train to go see the Red Sox.
Right.
Certainly not going to be that hard to take the train to go see the Celtics.
Yep.
And just travel in general in Boston, to just go out to eat. But more importantly, and I have to say it this way, because our good friend Chris Ann Tyrell won't be too happy with me if I don't say it, and it's true, was more important, is it's a great opportunity for people to come from Boston or towns north of here, use the train, come down to New Bedford and go to all the great restaurants, go to the Whaling Museum, go to the Zeitarian, or take the Fall River leg, come down and go to go to the Narrows, go to the Battleship Cove, go to the great restaurants along the waterfront, which are very much walking from the train. Right. And that's before, in Fall River, that's before the the Duval Street and Route 79 project is complete. Right. Still a little crazy right now, but once that's complete, it's really going to be great stuff along the waterfront, and exciting. And you can go to events and see some of the bands at the City Pier, at the Thomas Norton City Pier, those kinds of things. There's a lot of great stuff going on. Yeah. Heritage Park is right there. So that there's an enormous amount of stuff. I made that comment to somebody on Monday. I said, you can't forget that it's not just people from the South Coast getting to Boston. It's people from Boston getting to the South Coast. And they said, the reply was, well, what would you tell somebody to do when they came down here? And I said,
we got a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. I just went through some of it. And I said, you could talk to Chris Ann, you could talk to Patty Rigo, for sure, about all the events that are going on here. And then you could talk to our friends, Ashley and Amy at Explore New Bedford, because it's the same drill. There's so many things going on, so many exciting things. And, there's great nightlife. And
especially with warmer weather coming just around the corner.
Yes.
Things are really going to ramp up then,
And so South Coast Rail, to me, South Coast Rail is just going to be, an opportunity. It's just a great opportunity for more people to see what it's like down here, and it's also a great opportunity for people here to, utilize it and hopefully simplify. If they have medical appointments in Boston, or if they need to work in the city, or occasionally, like what happens with us, more Ian or me, sometimes we need to go to Boston for work, and it just simplifies it. And it's the Herald News. I never actually saw the final time for the person who drove, but the Herald News.
Oh, I did. Yeah. What was the Herald News? What was the person's time on the train?
The train was like just over an hour.
I think it was an hour and 20-ish minutes for the driver.
It was like an hour and 20. Okay, because it was not close.
No,
Yeah, it
no,
was
and
not
I'm
close.
sure that driver was probably a lot more stressed out, because who likes driving in Boston traffic? Not me.
Right, and you couldn't,
Yeah.
you know,
And it's unpredictable. That's the thing. Sometimes Boston, if we're lucky, we can zoom right in from here. But more often than not, we're hitting traffic.
I have a nephew that goes to high school, to BC High, and like right where that is, whenever I drive to Boston, I'm looking at it going, I can't believe you deal with this. Now he takes
Yeah.
the train.
Yeah.
He normally takes the train, but after sports and things, his parents will pick him up. But I'm like, man, I can't believe you deal with this every day.
Yeah.
So the train is a fantastic solution. Creates so many opportunities for people to improve their quality of life, to improve their earning opportunities, and it'll have a positive effect on the overall real estate market on the
Yeah,
South Coast.
absolutely.
So there's a lot of really good stuff.
Yeah,
So.
I'm certainly looking forward to getting to take my first ride, so hopefully soon. Let's talk about government affairs. We had a nice regen meeting a few weeks ago.
We did. We had a really fun regen meeting. Regen is people call it the Regen Committee, but it's really the Regeneration Project. It's a part of New Bedford. It's really in the DNA sort of the business community, and it's a kind of works really well with the state representatives and the mayors. But we had a great meeting. It really was a great meeting because it was an opportunity to talk about a lot of the great things that have been done. It was a presentation by Dr. Lori Zapalak, who is she's a consultant. She does a lot of economic development work, and the work that she does it all over the state. But she also she's done a lot of work for New Bedford Economic Development Council, but she's also done a lot of work in Fall River with Mass Development on TDI.
Yes.
She was very active in TDI when we first got TDI started, and she's terrific. She's really smart, and I learned that she's like a bakery.
Yes,
Bakery,
you were really
you know.
excited to learn that about
I was,
her.
you know.
And a Philly, you gave her a recommendation for a Philly bakery.
I gave her,
I
yeah,
think.
anybody who wants to go to great bakery, it's on Germantown Avenue in the Chestnut Hill section of Philadelphia. You know, it's family. It's my sister and her husband, but my brother-in-law started it over 30 years
Wow.
ago, and they've expanded it. Kids are involved, but it's more importantly, it's great food. But when somebody tells me that they love to find new good bakeries, I always have to talk about Baker Street because it's family.
Of course.
So Lori was very excited about that as well. But really, what Lori does great work in identifying opportunities, economic development opportunities, and not just in the building side of it, not just in we could take this mill and make it into 80 units. So that she works in that part of it, but she's great with what I'll call sort of the soft side of it as well, the soft side of economic development. What are the opportunities that are going to be created? How many other jobs can be created? Mm-hmm. What are the really good things that can be done? And she did this great white paper that we were talking about at this particular meeting that really was focused on, okay, a lot of great things have happened in New Bedford, but what do you take those great things and what does it lead to? And what does it open the door to? What greater opportunities does it create? And of course, a lot of the things that have happened have all been major contributors in getting people to, to create the funding to raise $37 million for the Zeitarian.
Right.
And to raise, I think it's $31 million for the Whaling Museum. So there's really, it all ties together.
Yeah.
And it all comes back to more chamber members for us because you get more restaurants, you get you get other businesses and things like that. So it really was a really good meeting, and our government affairs stuff is really rolling. It's doing very well.
Yeah, and that is headed up by our good friend Ian Trombley, our Vice President of Public Policy.
Yeah.
And another committee that he's heading up is our Education Committee.
Yes.
So what's going on in education?
He's really working on this project to try to develop everywhere we go, we hear people on educators, we hear businesses, and everybody in the middle talking about, we need interns, we
Yes.
need interns. You can barely go anywhere without hearing it, and it's amazing because, like 5-7 years ago, a lot of businesses, they weren't crazy about the concept of interns. But when you get through COVID, everybody's attitude and approach has changed a lot. The workforce is a lot different. There seems to be fewer people in the workforce.
Yes.
There's a lot of stay-at-home moms now because the cost of childcare, or they can't find childcare, so they don't work, and there's a lot of variables. But interns is one of the solutions for this, really, or it can be. So Ian's working really hard with UMass Dartmouth and with Bristol Community College, and trying to figure out a way to create, a better, simpler recruitment tool and a way for the employers and the students to be able to collaborate, so that they know exactly what's there, what the jobs are. It's very choppy at the moment. Like Bristol does it well, UMass does it well, but they do it for their students. And then on top of it, you've got all these high schools that are, like Diamond and New Bedford Vogue. They need more jobs for the students, and if they don't get more jobs, then some of the younger students, they just have to wait to start their co-op. And when you talk to Joe Marcisson, if he could start the kids early sophomore year, he would.
Right.
But he can't because there's not enough jobs.
Right.
As long as they're old enough and all the
Right.
there's other variables that enter into it as well. But but then there's great success stories too, where kids who have kids who started in the Diamond, I forget the exact name of it, but I'll refer to it as the IT program. There's kids who have started in the IT program to make great money working for some of the larger employers on the South Coast, who went and got their 4-year degree, and in the summers they stayed working internships, stayed local, and then when they would have loved to have gone to Boston, but then they compare the cost of living in Boston and the amount of money they're going to make there, which may be more money, but it doesn't.
It doesn't always equal out at the end of the day.
The developers say the pencil doesn't work,
Right.
and they can't make it work, and it just doesn't make sense. And it's it's a way to keep them here by they make connections and get to collaborate with these employers. And you talk to the employers, the employers love the kids to come from Diamond, and they love the kids to come from New Bedford Vogue. They've got the soft skills. They learn the soft skills. They recognize that if you're going to commit to this, that you need to show up. And not just show up when you're in the midst of your co-op. If you say I want to do something for 25 hours a week in the summer, you better be there for those 25 hours a week in the summer. And most of the time you get to work 30 or more and you make more money. So the interns is I like to say this, I don't want to call it a challenge, call it an opportunity, because it is an opportunity to make it work for everybody concerned. So that's kind of one of the things we've been really working on in the education world at the moment. So.
Well, we have a lot going on. The last time we were here, Mike, we were gearing up for our annual Women's Forum. That was a fantastic event.
What a great event. And I get to say that, and I'm not a woman, and in case you didn't notice. But and I'm going to steal some of your thunder because
Go for it.
you did a great job putting it together.
Thank you.
And Kate Donovan, a Durfee grad, she was a fantastic speaker, and she was just really like, you walked away from that saying everything she's talking about burnout and the causes of burnout and and just stresses in life in general and how challenges at home affect what's going on at work and vice versa. So she was just terrific.
It opened up a lot of eyes and minds to things where sometimes we don't realize that we're burnt out, and then she talks about something and I know that happened to me. I said, wait a sec, I guess I'm a little burnt out because this is happening to me. So that was a really fantastic event. We had a great group of people in the room, and we once again are very grateful to Kate for taking the time.
And
to come and speak.
every lady, sorry to cut you off.
No, go for it.
Every lady that I've seen that was in that room that day has said to me, what a great event.
Yes.
And what a great speaker she was. And one of our, I don't know if it actually has taken place yet, but one of our larger employers was interested in bringing her on to speak about, to speak to their employees.
Yeah.
And which to me, that tells you that we really had a winner.
Yeah, we hit the nail on the head, I think. Yeah, so thanks again, Kate. We also just recently held our spring job fair over at White's of Westport. That was another great event. I think this was probably the most attended event from job seekers in a while. It was just a constant stream through the door all day long. People looking for full-time employment, part-time employment. I know some of the employers had some really great conversations with people, and it seemed like there were a lot of opportunities there. We also had Juliana Roderick from Juilliard Photography doing complimentary headshots, which was wonderful. We had Waltz Mobile Closet giving out complimentary business attire for any job seeker. We had translation services for anybody who spoke Spanish, Portuguese, or Creole. And then we had Insperity there who were helping people with interview tips, brushing up, cleaning up their resume a little bit. Fantastic day.
Yeah, it really was. And Cliff, who runs a job fair, kudos to him. I hope he watches the show because he really does deserve the kudos. It really went well. And when you go back 2-3 years ago, we weren't offering translation services.
Right.
And I think it might have been last year or maybe even last fall when we did it was the first time we had anybody do translation. And I think what happened is just sort of word of mouth as it jumped to this time.
Yeah.
And that we were going to have additional, because I think then it was Hispanic.
It was,
Spanish.
yes.
So the first person we had was Spanish, and then this time we had, as you said, Spanish, Portuguese, and Creole. And it just seemed to me like we had a lot more diverse population.
We definitely did.
And it seemed like the translators were constantly busy.
I was bringing people over quite often during the day to their table. So
I think that as you kind of expanded and then every time I went by, Walt's Mobile Closet was always busy.
Yes.
And they do. I remember the first time Cliff said to me, they're interested in doing this, and I was a little nervous.
Yeah.
But I'm not nervous now because they do a great service, and they do it in such a nice way, and it's and they're able to help people with upgrade their clothing.
Yeah.
If they to go speak to the employers. They really do great work.
Yeah, and it's everything. It's shoes, it's belts, it's jewelry, pocketbooks, pants, skirts, tops, whatever. It's always complimentary. It's not just at the job fair that it's complimentary. It's always complimentary.
They do great. They really do great work, and it's not just having the employers. Obviously you have to have the employers there, but like when you talk to the employers, and the employers say, it's great that you have these other services that are here. I think having Insperity there, although I think I don't think they were quite as busy as they would have liked to be, but I think it's also the first time, or at least the first time in a long time, we've had somebody reviewing resumes.
Right.
But reviewing resumes is very important, and it's great service that they offer, and we're looking forward to having them next time. And I know that we'll probably get more people utilizing the service when we do it in
Absolutely.
September. So
Yeah.
really, it's a great event.
Yeah.
Great event.
Yeah, so our next one will be in September, so we'll be talking about that on the show when the time comes. After this, Mike, we're going to our business after hours for the month at Empire Ford down in the South End. So we're excited about that, and it's going to be a great night, but we'll recap that on the next show. But we couldn't let today go by without giving them a little shout out. So thank you, Empire Group.
Yeah, no, you can't without shouting it out. They do a great job. We'll report back more. Maybe
We will. We'll have
maybe
pictures
some
next time.
pictures.
Yeah.
But the Torres family, they do a great job in the auto business. They've always been, Rick in particular, has always been a great partner with the Chamber for a very long time. So we're looking forward to tonight.
We'll have a great time.
Yeah.
Well, we're running out of time here, but we have two very important things to talk about, and that's our long-term employee anniversaries. Kim has been with the Chamber for 24 years now, starting with the Fall River Chamber of Commerce. And then we have Dorothy, who has been just celebrated 45 years, and she started with the New Bedford Chamber. Dot is actually retiring at the end of this year, and we're certainly going to miss her and all the laughs that she gives us on a daily basis. But really cool to have two super long-term employees like that. So
it is, and the institutional memory that comes with them is is just off the charts. And it's like we'll be having meetings, and and you might think, well, they don't really need to be in a particular meeting, and I might say, yeah, you should be there, because it's all about their institutional memory.
yeah, wealth of knowledge there.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
And the communities, the community loves both of them.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is amazing how much the people, they just have never forgotten all the great things that they've done.
Yeah.
And I mean, Dot started, we were talking about internships before. Dot
Yeah.
started as a part-time intern.
She did, and she's made her
45
whole
years
career
ago.
out of it. So congrats again to Dot and Kim. Last order of business, we have some upcoming events. We have our April Business After Hours that's going to be held at Bank 5 on Wednesday the 23rd, and that's going to be at their newly remodeled main office on North Main Street in South Main. That's North Main. There.
North
Yeah,
Main.
North Main in Fall River. So we're looking forward to that. Then we have our golf tournament at Fall River Country Club on the 28th, just a few days later. We still have spots for individuals and foursomes. If you're looking to do a tee sign or any other type of sponsorship, please reach out to us, or you can scan that QR code that you see on your screen right now. And then last but definitely not least, my soon-to-be favorite event, the celebrity dinner, our celebrity scholarship dinner with Johnny Damon. He's going to be joining us at the Venus de Milo on May 20th. Tickets are available, but they are shutting down earlier than you think. So if you're interested in seeing Johnny, make sure you get on our website and buy your tickets soon.
Yeah, we're excited about seeing Johnny
Wait.
Damon.
Can't wait.
We're very excited about
Yeah.
seeing Johnny Damon. And get your tickets soon, please.
Yeah, onesouthcoast.com/celebrity dinner will take you directly to the page where you can get all of the information. But that does include, your ticket price includes the meal. We're going to hear Johnny speak. There's going to be silent auction, and then a meet and greet at the end, so everybody who goes can get Johnny's autograph.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's about it.
All right.
Thanks, guys. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
next time.